Time now for the press review. For that, I'm joined here in the studio by Deputy Laurent. Hi, Deputy.
Hi, Annette.
And we're going to start, of course, with those extraordinary celebrations that we witnessed last night in Paris with the return of the French team, Les Bleus.
That's right. We witnessed, as you might remember, we also heard it. Paris was really vibrating with those celebrations here in France as Les Bleus got a hero's welcome parading through Paris in front of hundreds of thousands of adoring fans who'd lined up for many hours. They've returned from Russia as heroes. That's what Le Parisien says on its front page, going with a lovely picture there of those celebrations on the Champs-Élysées. This is France's history. That's what the sports paper L'Équipe announces rather emphatically on its front page in Histoire de France, and you see France in the colors of the blue, white and red there. While Libération, another French paper, says celebrations have gone into extra time, the paper really evokes this moment of, quote, Republican unity, saying that the football team is a symbol of how we can be patriotic but multicultural at the same time, whether your family is from Cameroon or whether you were born in the suburbs.
Now, the Croatian team also got a hero's welcome when they headed home yesterday, which is not surprising given what they achieved and the fact they're a really small country, aren't they?
That's right. They're a really small country, but with a very big heart, at least at the World Cup football. That's what was got them a lot of adoring fans. They're just a small country of about 4 million people in it. But on Monday, 500,000 people were in the streets for the biggest street party in the country's history. That's what this publication, Croatia Week, says. And they were out there celebrating. They weren't mourning. In fact, the website explains that a trip with the team around Zagreb that normally takes 35 minutes ended up taking 6 hours.
Oh my goodness.
You get an idea of just how big the party was there, and the pictures are incredible, as you see on the front page of Jutarnji, a Croatian daily here that announces on its front page, "This is Croatia," while another paper, Večernji List, has one word, undescribable.
Now, you found an article looking at how Croatia now needs to capitalise on their successful World Cup campaign.
It's sort of a plea from this Guardian writer here who says really that Croatian football for too long has been dominated by, quote, criminal elements with ties to politicians. Croatia may get a new 5-star stadium thanks to their performance in the World Cup. But this writer says what they really need is investment in education, infrastructure. They need new pitches, they need new coaches, and a plan to, I quote, harness what is evidently an extraordinarily deep pool of talent.
Moving on to other news now, Deputy, and you, of course, have been taking a look at reactions to that summit yesterday between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin.
That summit and actually the comments that Donald Trump made, where he essentially brushed off allegations of Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. presidential elections. Those comments sparking backlash and for some accusations of treason against the U.S. intelligence agencies. For the Russian paper Kommersant, this summit produced, quote, peaceful incoherences, while the New York Daily News is pulling no punches about what it thinks. It calls it open treason, as you see a, quote, groveling Trump who's shooting Uncle Sam while holding hands with a smug-looking Vladimir Putin. So that's a very evocative front page there. The Daily Mirror, the British tabloid, also really saying what it thinks with this headline, Putin's poodle, Trump branded a traitor for siding with the Russian leader and not his own intelligence agencies.
And not surprisingly, there have been some interesting comments made on opinion pages, haven't there?
Well, we found one editorial from the Washington Post where they say that Putin really scored a symbolic triumph with the summit because it essentially gave him international credibility, or rather Trump gave him international credibility. And the Post is really scathing of Trump today, saying while he denies colluding with Russia, the fact that he refused to, quote, acknowledge facts about Russia's behavior means that he is openly colluding with a, quote, criminal leader of a hostile power. And you'll see in this cartoon from an Arab cartoonist here that it's clearly Russia is the one holding all the cards when it comes to issues like Israel, Iran, and Syria, while the Americans have really only one card to play, and that's the sanction card, but it's not going to last very long. That mountain peak there representing the summit in Helsinki.
Now back to our old home country for both you and I, that being Australia, but a rather disturbing story about a coronial inquiry into the death of an Aboriginal man in police custody, which has sparked cries of police brutality, sadly not the first time.
Not the first time, Annette. This story is the story of a man called David Dungay. He died while in prison, where he was serving a 9-year sentence for sex offences, assault and robbery back in 2015. At his inquest on Monday, a video of his death became public. And in this video, you essentially see him being detained by prison guards, being pinned down so they could presumably administer a sedative. He then shouted out, "I can't breathe." And in this scene was eerily reminiscent of the death of a unarmed black man in New York, Eric Garner, back in 2014. In this case, Dungay then died an hour later. Now his family want justice, and the video has sparked outrage about the treatment of Aboriginal Australians, young, imprisoned Aboriginal Australians with mental health issues.
And finally, a study about how toxic relationships can be bad for your health.
It seems pretty obvious, doesn't it?
It does, I have to say.
But this is actually a study. Metro UK reports that there's a new study that actually spanned the first 16 years of marriage, observing the first 16 years of marriage in 373 heterosexual couples, observing their disagreements over things like children, money, in-laws, the kind of usual things. And they basically found the unhappier you are, the worse it is for your health. You have more stress-related issues. You have a harder time getting over medical illnesses. And inversely, if you're happier in a relationship, well, then your health is much better. The bottom line basically being, if you are in a relationship and you don't want your husband or wife to literally kill you, you need to pick your battles wisely.
Okay, wise advice on this Tuesday afternoon. Thank you for that, Dipti. And if you want to take a look at the stories that Dipti's been talking about, you can, of course, head to our website, that being France24.com.